1, Dr. Mary Ellen Weber, making her second flight on board a space shuttle, and Mission Specialist 2, Army Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Williams, the only first-time flyer in this group. On the middeck for launch, Mission Specialist 3, Jim Voss, and Mission Specialist 4, Air Force Colonel Susan Helms, both on their fourth space flights, both members of the second long-duration crew scheduled to go to the International Space Station next year. And Mission Specialist 5, their expedition crew commander, Russian cosmonaut Yuri Usachov, a veteran of 376 days in space on 2 trips to the space station Mir. A crowd of friends and co-workers cheered the space travelers when they left crew quarters for the van ride to Launch Pad 39A. Halsell led his crewmates in climbing on board Atlantis and getting strapped into their seats to start through a series of systems checks, including those for the multifunction electronic display subsystem, or glass cockpit, an upgraded flight deck instrument display system making its first flight on this mission. With the countdown clock stopped at the built-in hold at T-minus 9 minutes, Launch Director Dave King polled his team in the Launch Control Center and relayed word to Halsell that everything was set.
Yeah, Jim and crew, looks like we're ready to send you on your way to the International Space Station. We wish you well.
Thank you very much, sir. We're ready.
The countdown resumed. The launch control teams worked to ensure that all was in readiness, and the astronauts braced for their 8.5-minute ride to Earth orbit.
6. Main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis, a space shuttle for the 21st century.
Houston is now controlling the flight of Atlantis.
Roger, roll, Atlantis.
The flight crew finished its day preparing the shuttle for business, opening the payload bay doors, activating systems in the Space Hab module and the orbiter docking system, and powering down secondary systems to conserve power. 5 hours after launch and 18.5 hours after wake-up, they headed for bed, anticipating their first full day in space and preparations for the second docking with the International Space Station late Saturday night.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. We are Launch Complex 39 at the Kennedy Space Center, where we are now entering the final 5 hours of the countdown for the launch of Space Shuttle Atlantis on mission STS 101. We are on schedule for a liftoff at a targeted time of 6:12 this morning. This is the 21st flight for Space Shuttle Atlantis and the 98th mission of the Space Shuttle program since launches began in April 1981. The primary objective at STS 101 is to perform maintenance tasks aboard the International Space Station and to deliver approximately 1 ton of supplies to the orbiting outpost. The mission will also include 1 EVA, or a spacewalk, and Atlantis will reboost the International Space Station from its current orbit of just above 225 statute miles to an orbit just under 250 statute miles. Mission duration for STS 101 is planned for 10 days, with a landing at KSC on May 29th at approximately 2:19 a.m. Eastern Time. The last launch to the International Space Station was almost 1 year ago, with Space Shuttle Discovery on May 27th, 1999. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, where we have just entered the astronauts' dining room at the operations and checkout building, where they are assembled for a final time before boarding Space Shuttle Atlantis. They'll be enjoying the celebratory STS 101 mission cake. We just saw Russian mission specialist Yuri Usachev and Mary Ellen Weber Our mission specialist Jeff Williams, flight engineer EVA crew member, our commander Jim Halsell, our pilot Scott Horowitz, and mission specialist Jim Voss, along with mission specialist Susan Helms. And they're on a very different sleep cycle than they were the last launch attempt, having been up since late afternoon, sleeping mostly during the day, and now ready for an early morning launch on time at 6:12. Their next activity after this snack and the cake is a weather briefing, and then off to suit up. And they are ready to go.
That's Jim Halsell, the commander there, waving hi. At this point, looks like he's getting his launched entry suit strapped on there. They're working on putting on the boots. And in a moment, they'll be shutting his visor and doing the pressure checks. We're moving over here to Scott Doc Horowitz, the pilot. Looks like he still have to get his gloves and everything else on there also. It's Yuri Uzachev, Russian astronaut. Actually has an awful lot of time up on Mir.
Over a year, I think, isn't it, altogether?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got more experience than most of the people in our office. Susan Helms, another one of the astronauts. She, Yuri, and Jim Voss are part of the second crew that are going to man the International Space Station here in about a year, I believe. And Jim Voss, looks like he's studying some last-minute procedures there. And here we see Jeff Williams. This is his first flight in space. He's from the class of 1996. You can see they're doing the pressure checks right now. He has his visor down, and they're making sure that the suit has no holes in it and would protect him in case of a pressure loss. And finally, Mary Ellen Weber. She's going to be in the MS-1 position today. This looks like the elevator outside at the 190. This is the elevator out in the 195-foot level right now, and you can see the suit techs and the crew coming out of the elevator, greeted by one of the members of the closeout crew, and start to marshal together to send them into the vehicle one at a time so they can be strapped in. Due to crew comfort reasons, we put the harness on here in the white room next to the vehicle as opposed to back in the suit room. It's a little more difficult to walk and move around once you have this on. So it's the last thing that we put on before we strap you in the vehicle. In this shot, you can see Jim climbing up on the MS-2 seat to get into his commander seat here on the left. On the right, kind of hidden by the headrest at this time, is Greg Johnson, who's the number 2 in the closeout crew. He's an astronaut who's part of the crew. And here's Yuri Uzachev getting his harness put on, doing his final checks before he can before he gets in. He'll be the first one into the mid deck of the shuttle. He'll be on the far right.
For control logic inhibit, step 92. That's step 501. You gotta go. Be in work. OTC, OVCC. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. MS-5 in at 252.
The last person to be getting into the flight deck tonight is going to be Jeff Williams. You can see him getting prepared here.
NTD, MS1, ComCheck.
MS1, this NTD, I have you loud and clear. Good morning, Mary Ellen.
I have you loud and clear as well, Steve. Good morning. OTC, air to ground 2, ComCheck.
There you go. Say something.
And here we get to see what the front of the cockpit looks like.
MS3, loud and clear.
The new MEDS displays, a bunch of video displays as opposed to the old gauges. These are the displays that the pilot and commander look at in order to monitor the systems during ascent and entry.
DPO SMTD on 212.
Scott, the DPO poll complete? Yes, it is, sir, and the payload team is ready to go. All right, thank you. Space Ed, Dale.
Space Ed's go.
Thanks, Dale. Launch package rep. Mike.
We're go.
Thanks, Mike. Lots of good work, folks. Let's go have a good flight. Thank you.
And CDR launch director on 212.
Go for the CDI.
Yeah, Jim and crew, looks like we're ready to send you on your way to International Space Station. We wish you well.
Thank you very much, sir. We're ready.
CLS's go for OAA retract.
Retracting the orbiter access arm. It can be put back into position in less than a minute if necessary. And the beanie cap now being retracted.
Caution warning is clear.
Close and lock your visors and initiate OT flow. Best wishes on your missions to service the International Space Station.
Copy that. We're on our way to the station, and we'd like to say thanks to everybody who has made Atlantis and us ready for launch. See you in about a week and a half.
20 seconds. 15 seconds. 10 seconds.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis, a space shuttle for the 21st century.
Houston is now controlling the flight of Atlantis.
Roger, roll, Atlantis.
The roll maneuver is complete. Atlantis is now in a heads down, wings level position, headed toward a rendezvous with the International Space Station. "28 seconds into the flight, Atlantis' engines are now throttling down to 72% of rated thrust as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure. Atlantis currently at an altitude of 3.6 miles, about 2.5 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. All systems on board are performing well.
Atlantis, go at throttle up.
Copy, go and throttle up.
Atlantis' 3 liquid-fueled engines are now back at full throttle, 104% of rated thrust. Atlantis now at an altitude of 9 miles, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center at 6 miles. Atlantis traveling now at a speed of about 1,600 miles per hour at an altitude of 14 miles and downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 10.5 miles. All systems on board are continuing to perform well. 1 minute and 48 seconds into the flight. Atlantis now downrange from the Kennedy Space Center 22 miles at an altitude of 24 miles. The next major event will be the burnout and separation of the twin solid rocket boosters. And booster officer confirms good separation of the two solid rocket boosters. Atlantis now at an altitude of 34 miles, downrange from the Kennedy Space Center, 42 miles, 2 minutes and 25 seconds into powered flight.
Atlantis, 2-engine TOW.
Copy, 2-engine TOW.
And as evident by the glow around the tail of the orbiter, the burn is in progress. Again, a 22-second burn designed to refine Atlantis's orbit in relation to that of the International Space Station as Atlantis continues its chase to catch up with the ISS with a docking scheduled for late Saturday night Central Time.